afternoon. We are here for a transportation hearing involving ABA Moving and Storage, Inc., doing business as two men and a truck. Mr. Menges, would you read the docket, please?
Yes, Madam Chair. This matter in docket number 2020-84T concerns the application of ABA Moving and Storage, Incorporated, doing business as two men and a truck for a Class E household goods certificate. Madam Chair, the docket's in order.
Thank you. We'll now take appearances. Who's here for the applicant?
Madam Chair and Commissioners, my name is Jack Pringle of the firm of Adams & Reese, representing the applicant.
Thank you, Mr. Pringle. And who's here for ORS?
Jenny Pittman is here for ORS.
Thank you, Ms. Pittman. Are there any preliminary matters that need to be brought to our attention before we begin?
Madam Chair, as has become, I don't know whether the term is customary, because very little is customary these days, but the applicant has a number of documents that I'd like to be made hearing exhibits. The first one would be the application and its 7 exhibits, and I'd like to ask that all of those documents be marked for identification as one composite exhibit and entered into evidence as the first hearing exhibit.
Any objection?
No objection.
Hey, Mr. Menges, that will be hearing exhibit number 1, is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And then also there are 2 affidavits of publication that have previously been filed in the docket. I'd ask that those affidavits of publication be marked for identification as a composite exhibit and entered into evidence as the next hearing exhibit or hearing exhibit number 2.
Any objection?
No objection.
That'll be hearing exhibit number 2.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then thirdly, the shipper witness affidavit of Mr. Greg Savitsky that's also been previously filed in the docket. I'd like to ask that that shipper witness affidavit be marked for identification and entered into evidence as hearing exhibit number 3.
Okay, and that's just the affidavit. We don't need the motion with that, do we?
That is correct. I think just if the motion has previously been approved, and I think just the affidavit as a standalone.
Any objection?
No objection.
That'll be hearing exhibit number 3, Mr. Menges?
Yes, Madam Chair, exhibit number 3.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And then also a final tariff and bill of lading have been filed by the applicant in the docket. And I'd ask that that final tariff, as distinct from the tariff that was filed in the application, this contains some changes that were suggested by the ORS, that the final tariff and bill of lading be marked for identification as a composite exhibit and entered in as hearing exhibit number 4.
Okay. Any objection?
No objection.
That'll be hearing exhibit number 4.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And then I very briefly, I wouldn't even call it an opening statement, but would like just have a couple of seconds to just alert the commissioners or to draw the commissioners' attention to a couple of unique things about this application, with your permission.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. May it please the Commission. This case comes before you. It's certainly an application where my client is seeking to obtain a certificate from the Commission of Public Convenience and Necessity. But unlike some other applications, it is actually looking to take over some of the operations of an existing certified carrier. So and that's Reliable Services, doing business as 2 Men and a Truck of Charleston and 2 Men and a Truck of Myrtle Beach. That company has offices and operations in both Charleston County, in North Charleston, and in Horry County, in Conway. And I wanted to just make clear that that company, Reliable Services, is not relinquishing its certificate the way the commission may have seen it in some other cases where a certificate is transferred along with some assets. Instead, Reliable Services is going to continue to operate in Conway, and largely in the Myrtle Beach area, and my client is seeking to operate out of the location and use the trucks and equipment and employees that are located in North Charleston. So if this application is approved, my client would obtain its own certificate of public convenience and necessity, and Reliable Services would maintain its certificate of public convenience and necessity. And I just wanted to point that out before we got started.
Thank you, Mr. Pringle. Ms. Pittman, do you have any kind of opening that you'd like to make?
No, ma'am, no statement from ORS.
Thank you. Mr. Pringle, please call your first witness.
Okay, the witness for the applicant is Allison Omenson.
Let's see. Ms. Wheat, will you swear the witness?
Yes, ma'am. If you would raise your right hand, please, ma'am. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Ms. Omenson, if you would, please state your full name and business address for the record.
Allison Marie Omenson. My previous business address in Florida was 310 Anchor Road, Castleberry, Florida, 32707. However, I have since moved to the Charleston area to operate out of the location that we're speaking of at North Charleston. That address is 2410 North Air Park Road in North Charleston, 29406. Still learning.
Okay. Yeah. So, and by whom are you employed and in what capacity for purposes of this hearing?
General Manager of ABA Moving and Storage.
Okay. Did you cause to be pre-filed in connection with this docket direct testimony in question and answer format and consisting of 5 pages?
Yes, I did.
Do you have any additions, deletions, or changes to make to that pre-filed direct testimony?
No, I do not.
If I asked you all the questions that appear in that pre-filed testimony, would your answers be the same as are in that testimony?
Yes, they would.
Madam Chair, I'd like to ask that Ms. Omenson's pre-filed direct testimony be read into the record as if given orally from the stand.
The pre-filed direct testimony will be read into the record as if orally from the stand.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Omenson, you mentioned that you had a previous business address in Florida. Tell the Commission a little bit about what you were doing in Florida as it relates to household goods.
Sure. So my partners and I who are coming up together to Charleston, I've been a GM along with them as the owners since May 2004. We actually opened that location down in Florida in April of 2002. So I've been there pretty much the entire time. We have the Castleberry, Florida location, and we also have a Daytona Beach location down in Florida. And we're looking to expand up in Charleston. And we do all aspects of moving, residential and commercial and intra and interstate moving down in those locations there.
Okay. And down in those Florida locations, I guess it's Castleberry and Daytona Beach, what kinds of things have you done with those franchises, with those locations?
Okay. I have experience in all operations, the day-to-day operations. I have been the general manager overseeing specifically those Castleberry locations for approximately 10 years. I have done the operation side of things. I have experience in the accounting side of things, also claims for when claims are filed, accident claims, work comp claims, those types of things. So I have experience in all aspects of, like I said, the day-to-day operations.
Okay. And the application in your testimony mentioned a couple of other partners or owners in this company. Can you tell the commission just a little bit about them?
Sure. So it's Angela and Brad Lehman. They came to Florida back in 2002 in order to open the Castleberry, Florida location. He worked at our corporate office as a franchise business consultant prior to opening the location down in Florida. So he too has experience on both sides, from the corporate office and on a franchise level. And they are a married couple and have been in Florida ever since. And then purchased Castleberry, Florida, and then I believe 4 or 5 years later purchased the Daytona Beach location, as well as since then they've invested in other ventures such as a volleyball club that their girls were active in. So we worked together for quite some time.
Okay. And when you mentioned, just for the commissioner's benefit, when you mentioned the corporate office, are you talking about Two Men and a Truck International's corporate office up in Michigan?
Yes, I am. Sorry, yes.
Okay. And so he has experience working from what's essentially considered the home office, the franchisor that helps franchises set up around the country.
Right. That's exactly right.
Okay. And you, as you also mentioned at the beginning, you've now been in Charleston for a while. Tell the commission about that and what you're doing. Right.
So I moved up, closed on my house on March 6th, and started at the actual location on March 9th. Currently, aside from getting the transfer, dealing with licensing and insurance and things like that for the new corporation, I have been involved with their day-to-day operations as well, specifically hiring. We're trying to really ramp up hiring before the summer starts. So hiring and then just dealing with the office, managing the office that's currently operating out of Charleston.
Okay. And it's my understanding that you're going to, and you can answer these questions individually as I ask them, the applicant, your company, plans to operate out of the current North Charleston location, correct?
Right.
And purchase the trucks that are currently servicing that location?
Right.
Very briefly, what describe the number of trucks that are there?
Sure. There's 12 trucks and 2 vans that are currently there.
And what about employees? Are you going to employ the employees that are currently working there?
Our intentions are to keep all of the current staff. Right now, there are, I believe, 35 employees there. And again, I'm hiring on a day-to-day basis. So the intention is especially with the new applicants coming in, essentially I'm hiring them for ABA. So yes, those are our intentions, are to keep all of the current staff. Okay.
And then talk a little bit, and there's a shipper witness affidavit that's already in the record, but talk about your impressions of the demand for moving services and for intrastate services in South Carolina, and what you know and what you've learned about that.
Sure. Well, prior to coming here, Charleston, and, when I speak of a 2-minute a truck as a system, it's just grown so much, even since I've been in 2004. So, Charleston has always been a sought-after location. It was one of the original locations. I believe they came in the late 90s. And so their territory is so much bigger because they've kind of been grandfathered in, to whereas, now territories are being sold, much smaller. So we knew Charleston was a great area, similar to where I'm from as far as, median income, the demographics. And so on paper, Charleston looks great. It was a city that was continuously growing. But I can speak to, after even coming up here on more of a personal level, I just can't believe, what I'm seeing. My real estate agent, her business is booming, and she too just said that it's, she just can't keep up with trying to help her clients, and that's obvious. On every corner, there's a new subdivision being built. With Boeing here, with Volvo, there's just so much. The colleges that are around, the military bases. It's just, opportunities are endless in this area, and again, with the territory being so large, it's just a great opportunity and a great area to expand out of Florida. So.
Okay, and does the company plan to also, this company, not the Florida ones, intend to provide interstate services as well?
Yes.
Okay. If the company receives the certification it's seeking, the statewide intrastate authority, will you agree to comply with all applicable rules, statutes, and orders of this commission?
Yes, I do.
And shown by your application, you're familiar with the insurance and safety requirements that are in this commission's rules?
Yes, we will comply with all of those requirements.
And I'll only mention this briefly because the commission has heard any number of times about the employee training of 2 men in a truck, but can you just briefly talk about the kinds of things you do to prepare your employees to move customers' goods? Sure.
So we hire them, as our employees. They're not temp employees. They come in, they're subject to a background and background check and drug screen. From there, it's bookwork and videos, kind of giving them a little history, on the company, how it started, kind of lay out our standards of our operations, what we require from our guys, as far as, providing excellent customer service in the safety aspect of what we do every day. From there, it's more about on-the-job training. They go out with, trainers on a daily basis until we know that, we feel comfortable with them being in customer's house and operating with other employees, again, from the safety things. And then after that, after they complete their, what we call a trainee, which is typically, several hours sitting on the employee, several days out on the truck. The training is still continuing. We then, once they become a driver, we road test them. Again, there's more videos, there's more on-the-job training after that. They don't just go out, on their own. They're with an experienced driver for several days at a time, until they get comfortable behind the wheel and with the customer. And then from there, it's, I had guys today on the computer. There's computer training. There's constant, training that continues from there. So it's pretty, it's pretty intense training, in comparison to what we've heard, other moving companies do, where it's just kind of like, okay, you're hired, get on the truck. We try to train and retain and, try to put forth the effort in maintaining, those employees and holding them to a high standard the entire time they're employed by us.
Okay. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that you'd like to tell the commissioners?
I don't think so. I think we covered the basis of what we do. Just I guess the important part is just to know that we are, we're coming into an established location that that has such potential, and the trucks are already here and the employees are here. So we're excited to to take the batons and grow and continue to help Charleston, grow and be a part of that growth. So I'm excited to be here.
Well, thank you. Please answer any questions that Ms. Pittman or the commissioners may have for you.
Okay.
Ms. Pittman, any cross?
No questions from ORS.
Commissioners, any questions?
I have a question, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Howard?
I got a question, and by the way, welcome to Charleston. I wish you all success in the world.
Thank you.
I am from Charleston, and I love it. I got a question on the balance sheet. Your goodwill. It's almost half of your total assets, yet I see no matching thing in current liability to stockholder equity of that magnitude. What do you consider goodwill, and how do you calculate it? $648,000, I believe.
I might have a hard time. What do we consider? What was that? I know he's asking about the balance sheet.
Exhibit 3.
Okay.
You got an item for goodwill for $648,000, and total assets is $1.3 million, which is virtually half of your total assets is in goodwill, and I don't see where anything matches in your liability section.
Jack, I know you spoke to Angie about that balance sheet. Is that something you might be able to help him with?
Well, actually, you've got to answer the question that's being asked of you about this, and I may jump after you're finished.
Okay. That's my Angela, the other person that's coming in here. That's typically something that she would handle, and I don't have
think
a copy.
Madam Chair and Commissioner Howard, if it would be helpful to provide a late filed exhibit with an explanation of that. I mean, I can tell you what I think it is, but I can certainly get a late filed exhibit that explains that.
Mr. Pringle, I'll be satisfied with just your explanation.
And this is my belief. So take that for what it's worth. I think that represents the value of the franchise from the 2 Men and a Truck International. The right in order to actually have the right to operate should this thing go through, and I think that would then reflect with the long-term loans payable somehow. Somehow that's how it matches up.
Well, that was the only place it could be. It's a long-term loan payable. And I thought that might be the answer, but I guess I just didn't understand how that could come about in a balance sheet in that format.
Yeah, and I honestly don't know, exactly the reason, other than as you know, it does have to. It's got to balance, and you've got to. It can't necessarily be categorized the same way that a fixed asset could, because it's by and large something like intellectual property. It's not quite that, but given that I think that's the basket that it falls into, as opposed to other types of assets.
I understand. I agree with you. Thank you very much, and good luck.
Thank you.
Any other commissioners? All right, Mr. Pringle, any redirect?
No redirect, Madam Chair.
Okay, the witness may step down, be excused, however you want to do that. Anything else, Mr. Pringle?
Nothing from the applicant. We rest as such.
Ms. Pittman?
Thank you, Madam Chair. ORS did not file testimony in this docket. By letter filed yesterday, May 19th, we indicated that based on our review, we feel that the applicant meets the fit, willing, and able requirements to be a household goods mover in the state of South Carolina. At this time, I would like to move our May 19th, 2020 fit, willing, and able letter into the record as the next hearing exhibit.
Any objection?
No objection.
I believe that'll be hearing exhibit number 5. Is that correct, Mr. Minges?
Yes, hearing exhibit number 5.
Hearing exhibit number 5 is entered.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also have Mr. Thomas McGill here with me as well. If any commissioners have any questions, I'd be happy to put on the stand.
Commissioners, any questions for Mr. McGill? If so, let me know so we can have him sworn in. Mr. McGill, it sounds like you skated by once again. Is that it, Ms. Pittman?
Yes, nothing further from ORS. Thank you.
Commissioners, anything else before we close this? Mr. Pringle, I'd just like to thank you and the client for being here, and I think Mr. Minges will probably talk to you about some proposed orders at some point. But Ms. Wheat, do you have everything you need?
She's nodding her head, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then I think we can close this hearing, and we'll have this on the agenda hopefully sometime in the near future.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
How's that for
Thank
ambiguous?
you.
We'll close this hearing. Thank you all very much.